know what each one of it is? Sort of. Like a charter is basically you exist. Permission from the king. In England, it used to be the king, right, or queen would give you, because it's kind of strange, because this is a religious thing. Back in England, the idea that you could avoid personal liability was a little bit iffy in the religious department, because they said, look, if you do something, you should be liable. Only the king or queen could give you exception for having a corporation, and that was like, you better have a good reason. And so today, you don't have to have a good reason to start a corporation. Just start one, right? But you're no liability. Pretty amazing. But the charter is permission to exist. $250, and it comes from Virginia here in most cases. The articles of incorporation are who we are, what we do, what we're going to make. The bylaws is how do we run the company? Who's in charge? How do we vote on big decisions? How many people are on the board of directors, etc. Right? But you got to have these 3 documents and one other thing. What other thing would you probably want to have even if you don't have any personal liability?
Insurance.
Insurance. And an insurance policy. Right? But you want to have an insurance policy because you don't want to go out of business because somebody slips and falls. You want to have insurance anyway, even though there's no personal liability. Buy some insurance because that's a responsible thing to do for your fellow human beings. All right. Any questions? Charter, you exist. What we do, how we do it, how we govern ourselves, corporate governance. Good. Test question. There are several types of corporations. Close or closely held or closed. What does that mean? Who's ever bought an M&M? You know what M&M stands for? It stands for the Mars Company. Guess who the Mars, M-A-R-S or whatever. They live up in Pennsylvania. They're billionaires. They're like the Saudi royal family, right? And maybe more money. No, I'm just kidding. Not possible. Anyway, but they're very, very rich. The only way to get stock in the Mars Company is to what? Have a name, Mars, or be married to Mrs. like the daughter. So it's a family owned. Who knew that M&M, who loves M&M's frozen peanut as much as me? I have them in my refrigerator almost all the time, and they're delicious. Do you like the M&Ms? They're delicious. But they're a closely held corporation. You ready for this? The wealthiest closely held corporation in todo el mundo, the world, except for Putin's corrupt companies. All right. You've heard of Putin? He's like really corrupt. He's the president. Subchapter S, don't worry about it. Mark through your notes. They don't exist anymore. They do exist, but I'm not talking about it. Domestic. Domestic means, look, in order to have a charter, your charter is normally issued, with rare exceptions, by the state. So if you are a Virginia domestic corporation, who gave you a charter? Virginia. So Virginia, domestic means that's a company in your state. Foreign, strangely enough, means what? A company in America from where? Outside your state. Alien. Outside of USA, outside of the United States. Now, who's heard of Sony? Sony Matsushita Electric Company of Tokyo, Narita, Japan. They are a what kind of corporation?
Alien.
Alien. But they own companies. Write this down. Companies can own other companies. And guess what? Sony Matsushita Electric Company owns Sony Entertainment Television that makes 3.5 Men. Or is it 2.5? It's 2.5 Men, which is awesome. Anyway, so Sony Entertainment Television is located where? Hooray for Hollywood, right? So it would be a domestic corporation of what state? California. Everybody with me? So don't get too hung up on this. I want you to understand that companies can own companies and lots of times do. Sony Matsushita Electric owns every single share of Sony Entertainment Television. Why would they have a Sony Entertainment Television? Why don't they have Sony Entertainment Company Japan and film and go to Japan? Because we don't speak Japanese here, right? Charlie Sheen, he could probably take some drugs and learn Japanese pretty easily. Everybody, don't worry. I'm just talking to you. I'm hungry.
You want an orange?
All right. States, rare exceptions. The federal government has a few chartered corporations. Don't worry about it. All right. The civilian marksmanship program is a federal corporation. Don't worry about it. All right. See this woman right here? Elaine F. Marshall, law school classmate of mine. She's going to run for what next year?
Secretary of State.
Governor. Governor. She never would go out with me. No. She was like too smart for me. Okay, so public companies. All right. In order to basically, a public company means you can buy the stock.